So, let's talk about Luigi Bonpensiere Ideokinetics. So, how did I do that? Well, in this video I'm going to talk a little bit about a very lost text by Luigi Bonpensiere, written in the 50s. It's a book about Ideokinetics, New Pathways in Piano Technique. Don't forget, it's coming from my perspective, and perspective is in itself a reduction of information on the reality being received. So it's from my perspective, but I am a musician involved in making music in the moment as a jazz musician. Well, a musician who likes jazz, I would say. I'm also interested in write classical music as well. But I find this text fascinating. It was passed on to me by my piano teacher, well, one of my piano teachers. And a great friend of mine, the pianist Matthew Bourne, is also a massive fan of this work. So I'm going to try and distill this in an opening video here. If enough of you like it and comment and are interested, then maybe we'll delve a little bit further and talk more about it. But I just don't want this text to be lost, because I think it's absolutely valuable. The idea of it, really, and this is going to be the tricky bit, is that you, in a way, you've got to the mind you already have, and put that mind aside for a moment, that finite mind, and think about something that the mind doesn't normally do. So when I did that, I had my eyes shut, and I actually got that one first take, but if I'd have done some more, I'm sure I probably wouldn't have. That would have been quite close. And it's the idea of dispelling the ego and the consciousness, so that you are, in a way, coming from a sort of a vegetative state. So when my eyes were shut, I just acted straight on the chord, and I didn't, if you like, build any perception or any thought. I was just aware of my own awareness. And then I acted, and you could almost act on a symbol, and I'll talk about that in a few moments. So I'm going to show you that. I'll show you a few symbols and a few things that you can practice away from the piano. Then I'll set a couple of gadgets that you can explore at the piano and enjoy it, because it's tremendous fun to do. So yes, dispelling, it's like Buddhists deconstruct the knowledge of the world and ego that's around them. I like to think of the idea of deconstructing that as a meta move down to at which something new can arise, which will deeply improve your playing. So that is the idea of this video, that we're going to look at Luigi Bonpensiere's Ideokinetics. So think about a young child that's born of this world, and let's just think a moment about using a phrase by the wonderful Benita Roy, who calls this holistic participation. That's a shorter version of what she calls it. But it's the idea that when a child is born, the child is fully present of the earth. Everything that they participate in is with Gaia. They are not removed from Gaia. They haven't as yet been implanted an ego. They haven't gained that ego, and they haven't gained what epistemic thought, or they aren't running an epistemology or a curriculum. So the idea of this Ideokinetics is the idea of trying to as I said before, the mind that's hungry for knowledge, try to put that mind to one side so that you are fully aware of your awareness. The idea of this, and I'm going to set you some exercises in a moment or two, is the possibility of playing something without too much thinking perception getting in the way. Just as the other week I fell off my scooter, and I put my hands out immediately, and it happened in less than a nanosecond, and I wasn't really in charge of that. This Ideokinetics, this other thing was going on to stop me squashing my face. Thankfully I didn't damage my hands. But you see what I'm talking about with this idea of trying to, and I find this very rewarding as exercises to practice. So the idea of also doing it with your eyes shut as well, and also playing pieces with your eyes shut, or even just improvising with your eyes shut, because once your sensory awareness is really heightened and you start to really listen what is coming in here, it really transforms the way you play. And ultimately, that's what we are looking for. We're looking for a new way to experience music and then spread that thing that is coming through us out to the audience and transcend and move those people. So we'll do these exercises, but do bear in mind, you know, like how a child picks up a drink when they're a baby, how the little baby over the road from where I live was stood on our stones, and they're tremendously painful for me, not for the child at all. So these are things that we learn and then form our personality. But this kind of ideokinetics, this is why I think it can be a little bit tricky to penetrate, as I say, is the idea of doing the action without much thought. So let's talk a little bit about doing a little exercise now that's away from the piano, and then setting you a few at the piano and then leaving you to explore and enjoy that. Okay, so in front of you there you can see 5 different objects. So what you need to do is lay out 5 different objects at random different spatial places on a table in front of you. Okay, let's begin and try our first experiment in Ideokinetics, what Luigi Bonpensiere calls hitting a mark. So what we're going to do, you can see those 5 images in front of you. Now, we're going to try and hit those with our eyes shut or not looking. Okay? Just look at the images from left to right or right to left. Look at where they are, shut your eyes and bang on top of them with your right hand. You may actually, a little few words from Luigi Bonpensiere, before hitting, I may agree that my hand make 1 or 2 loops in the air. This is a tricky thing, but try not to let the hands, don't be concerned about what the hands do, just let them go with kind of an unshaken assurance that they will realise this kind of volition, this kind of automatic addition, if you like. So in a way, we're trying to undo a conscious system to do something which is, to use, what word could we use, kind of an awareness of awareness, an organic way of doing it. One more thing before we leave this exercise, imagine yourself completing it, just banging on all 5 of those objects in front of you. Now you can try and repeat this exercise with different objects in different spaces and different positions. Okay, so now let's have a go at these Ideokinetic exercises at the piano. These are the first ones that Luigi Bonpensiere sets in the book. We could also call this cybernetics, the idea of this kind of automatic control, as I mentioned when I fell off my scooter the other week. So let's try these. Now, if at this point your mind is hungry to sort of go piff at this and say, no, this is... Maybe hold that as a point of awareness, and maybe do an orthogonal move on that, and just hold it and just try it. I think you'll find it very rewarding. The young children I teach find this extremely rewarding and really enjoy it, and are also extremely good at it. They haven't had too much education, you know, and then they grasp it because they know it. You know, they know it. They're familiar with it. So I'm going to set you these gadgets now to try. So remember what I said, it's the idea of coming from this kind of vegetative state, this non-doing state. I've brought a lot of things for you to think about, certain metaphors that I brought in the story, which might help make a little bit more sense. You know, teaching isn't telling. I'm just trying to guide you in the right areas to give this exploration some of your time, and I think you'll find it very rewarding. So this is just, I've only just scratched the surface of this topic. So if enough people are interested, it may be that I'll do a part 2 of this, talking more about it. It's certainly what you might call in ancient religion traditions esoteric knowledge, but as I said earlier, I think you're finding all through the great masters, she or he has this power to do that, and it is innately in there playing as it passes through them. So here are the gadgets to try, and I'll also finish a little bit of me playing without vision. Okay, so now let's have a go at hitting the mark applied to the piano. So we're going to have a go at this inversion of a C chord. We're going to try and play that 2 octaves apart. Now, unlike I did and I'm doing in the video, don't just do it from the eyes closed immediately. Keep repeating the pattern with your visual perception, being aware of the distance. Keep going back and forth doing that. Down to the lower octave, up to the higher octave, back and forth, back and forth. Now, before we do the full exercise, try and play the inversion just above middle C, and then go up to the 2 octaves higher, but just have an image of where you're going in front of you. So for example, you're just looking at the inversion you've just played, and a symbol of that, visualizing that before you go 2 octaves higher to play the same thing. So you're looking elsewhere, but absolutely your perception of elsewhere is being informed by the actual place you are looking at, e.g. the first inversion that you just played. When you feel ready, close your eyes. Don't let any thought enter. If you do, and if you feel that you are feeling for the notes, like scratching around with your fingers touching black notes, then you are not achieving any form of Ideokinetics. You mustn't be touching, because then you are running an epistemology, you are using a curriculum, you are thinking about the notes, and you are using the perceptions of the body. We need to not use the perceptions of the body that are, if you like, have been loaded onto us, like a curriculum, for example. We are going back to just an automatic doing, automatic cognition, if you like we are just moving, hence the word Ideokinetics. So when you're ready, shut your eyes and go, and keep repeating this exercise, and of course just share with me maybe later on and tell me how much you enjoy it when you've done it, because it's magical when you've achieved it. Because what we don't want is kind of physiokinetics, we want the ideokinetics, this addition of it just happening. Also, embrace being wrong. It's not about hitting it, just keep trying it. Try and keep trying. What we need to do is unlearn a lot of things, so to quote a few words from the book, what we know for certain is that practice is necessary for establishing ideokinetic consciousness, which seems so far the sole aim. And that is what we are aiming for, indeed. Just another thing, don't worry about fingering, pick whichever feels natural for you, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 5, just go with what feels natural for the body. These other exercises that you're seeing now are just other things that you can try, different inversions of chord. So there you go, and I've just shown you a couple of chords. You can try them in any, can't you, a D minor chord or whatever you like, whichever inversion. I'm just trying to open the doorway for that. So do give it a try. I think you'll find it extremely rewarding. Here's the last word to Luigi Bonpensiere, who says, we might say that it is not only possible to start from the beginning to learn the piano with the Ideokinetics method, but that it would be enormously economical in time and patience. We know that many things which were impossible to execute before because of the structural physical handicaps become at once possible with Ideokinetics. Taking for granted that one has to be mentally an accomplished musician before they are able to take full advantage of Ideokinetics, we suppose that the benefits derived from previous training are conspicuous so far as they are mental assets. For paradoxically, as it may sound, we are actually playing with our mind in Ideokinetics. So good luck exploring it. I find it tremendously rewarding. what I sometimes do with my students when they're talking to me, I'll walk over to the corner and I just throw a tennis ball at them. And they have two choices. They either duck or they catch it.